In the heart of the dense, ancient Slavic forests, where the birch trees whispered ancient secrets and the shadows danced with the twilight, there stood a secluded bathhouse known as the banya. This was no ordinary bathhouse, but a place steeped in ancient magic and guarded by a mysterious spirit known as the Bannik. Unlike the modern bathrooms of today, the banya was a separate structure, akin to a sauna, with a steaming room and another for bathing. The air inside was thick with the scent of fir branches and steam, creating an atmosphere both comforting and eerie. Within this sanctuary of heat and steam dwelled the Bannik, a creature seldom seen by human eyes. The Bannik was described as a little old man with gnarled, hairy hands and long, claw-like nails. His eyes were said to glow faintly in the dark, like embers in a dying fire. He made his home behind the stove, emerging only in the dead of night or when summoned by those brave enough to seek his counsel. His presence was both feared and revered, for the Bannik was as capricious as the forest itself, embodying both its nurturing and its perilous aspects. Bathing in the banya was a ritual steeped in both reverence and trepidation. The darkness of the bathhouse concealed many dangers, and the Bannik, with his uncertain moods, was at the heart of them. If angered, he could suffocate a bather, hurl boiling water, or even set the banya ablaze in a fit of rage. His eyes, it was said, could pierce through the steam to spy on bathers, particularly women, as they disrobed. To bathe alone or late at night was to court peril, for the Bannik's wrath was unpredictable and swift. The Bannik was a pagan entity, and as such, no holy icons adorned the walls of the banya. Crucifixes were left outside, and prayers were whispered under breath, hoping to appease the spirit within. Mothers with newborns were especially vigilant, for the Bannik had a penchant for unbaptized infants, sometimes attempting to spirit them away into the night. To keep the Bannik content, the bathhouse was meticulously cleaned. Offerings of soap, water, and fresh fir branches were left for him, tokens of respect for the unseen guardian. Upon leaving the banya, bathers would softly thank the Bannik, their voices barely above a whisper, lest they provoke his ire. The third or fourth round of bathing was always reserved for the Bannik, who preferred to bathe alone, shrouded in darkness. As in stories of the Slavic house spirit known as the domovoi, the Bannik was said to tell fortunes. Girls and women would go to the banya to ask the Bannik how the new year would be. A cold touch, or one made with the Bannik's claws, was a warning of bad fortune, but a soft, warm touch meant happiness. These fortune-telling sessions were fraught with suspense, the air thick with anticipation and dread. Before a new banya could be built, a ritual had to be performed to appease the Bannik and ensure his favor. A black chicken was sacrificed and buried beneath the site, its blood a bond between the world of men and the spirits. Salt was thrown over the stove when the banya was first heated, a ward against misfortune and a gesture of goodwill to the Bannik. One chilling tale tells of a young woman named Yelena, who ventured into the banya alone on a moonless night. She sought answers about her future, her heart heavy with the uncertainty of her impending marriage. As she stepped into the steaming room, the air grew thick and oppressive. She whispered her question into the darkness, feeling the weight of the Bannik's presence. Moments later, a cold, clawed hand brushed against her arm, sending a shiver down her spine. She fled the banya, her heart pounding with the dread of the ominous prediction. Yelena's experience was not unique. The villagers often spoke in hushed tones about the Bannik's capricious nature. There was the story of Ivan, a robust young man who, in his arrogance, dared to mock the Bannik. He entered the banya late one night, boasting that the spirit held no power over him. His friends, gathered outside, heard his laughter turn to screams. When they rushed in, they found Ivan unconscious, his skin scalded and the air heavy with the acrid smell of burnt wood. He awoke days later, his spirit broken and his body marked with scars that never fully healed. Ivan never spoke of what he saw, but his eyes, once full of bravado, now held a haunted look. Then there was the tale of old Marfa, a midwife who had delivered countless children in the village. She was known for her gentle nature and her knowledge of herbs and charms. One winter night, she was called to the banya to assist with a birth. The night was bitterly cold, and the moon cast long, eerie shadows across the snow-covered ground. As Marfa worked to bring the new life into the world, she felt the presence of the Bannik. She whispered a prayer to the old gods, hoping to keep the spirit at bay. Suddenly, the air grew warm and Martha felt a gentle, almost comforting touch on her shoulder. The child was born healthy, and Martha knew the Bannik had blessed the birth. Not all interactions with the Bannik were so benign. The villagers spoke of a young girl named Anya, who had recently lost her father. Grief-stricken, she wandered into the banya late at night, seeking solace. She sat in the steaming room, tears streaming down her face, whispering her sorrow into the darkness. The Bannik appeared to her, his eyes glowing with an eerie light. He offered her a choice to join her father in the afterlife or to remain in the village, bearing the pain of her loss. Terrified, Anya fled the banya, her heart pounding with fear. She never spoke of what she saw, but from that night on she was never the same, her eyes always haunted by the encounter. The Bannik's presence was both a blessing and a curse. The villagers lived in a delicate balance, respecting and fearing the spirit that dwelled within the banya. They knew that to anger the Bannik was to invite disaster, but to honor him was to ensure his protection. This balance was maintained through rituals and offerings, each gesture a reminder of the unseen world that existed alongside their own. In the cold, dark nights of winter, when the wind howled through the trees and the snow lay heavy on the ground, the villagers would gather around their hearths and tell tales of the Bannik. The children would listen wide-eyed, their imaginations filled with visions of the mysterious spirit. The elders would nod knowingly, their minds filled with memories of their own encounters with the Bannik. The banya, with its flickering shadows and thick steam, remained a place of both cleansing and caution, where the line between the mortal and the mystical blurred into a haze of steam and shadows. The Bannik, with his hairy hands and long nails, remains a figure of fear and fascination in Slavic lore. His unpredictable nature and the aura of suspense that surrounded him made the banya a place of both cleansing and caution.